Okay, we're gonna make this next button blink when the timeline ends. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And then it resets when you click next or previous. Alright, let's jump right in. First of all, I don't know why Articulate Storyline doesn't have this feature. It's something that I think would be super useful, being able to click on the next or being able to have this blinking next button whenever the timeline ends. I think I don't see why it's so hard to build. I think Storyline should be able to implement this. Alright, what we're going to do is in Storyline, we are going to get out of the master slide. And I'll show you how to do this on the regular slide, and then we'll bring it over to the master slide so that we don't have to implement it for every single slide. So this is the default Storyline panel here on the right. See how it just says jump to next slide when the user clicks, go to previous slide when the user clicks back. All we're going to do is we're going to click new trigger, execute JavaScript, okay? And the JavaScript is going to be here. I'm going to provide the link. It's going to be the blinking effect. I'm going to copy the code, paste it, and we're going to have it trigger when the timeline ends. There we go. All right. Now, if we preview, it's going to do exactly that.
Special education local in a later module.
It's blinking. Great. Now the problem is, if you just leave this code as is, it's gonna keep blinking every single time and it won't stop. And so we need to execute another JavaScript that stops this when something is triggered. So whenever the learner clicks the previous or the back buttons, we're gonna create a trigger, and this time it's going to be the blinking effect stopped. And again, this is the code that I will provide. We're gonna paste it here. Now when they click, when the user clicks the next button. Where's the next button? Oh, here we go. Okay. One important thing. Let's just preview right now. If you preview here, there's a possibility that it's not going to work. Let me preview the next slide. If you preview here, it may not work. So let's test it out. It's blinking. And notice how when I click next, it's still blinking, even though the code is correct. And the problem here is on the right side on the panel, this actually goes in sequential order. So it's jumping to the next slide before it even gets to execute the JavaScript. So what you want to do is bring this up so that it executes the JavaScript and then it jumps to the next slide. So now let's preview again.
Special education local print in a later module.
Okay, it's blinking. Now I'm going to click next.
Special education local.
Bam, right there. It no longer blinks. And that is pretty much it. You also want to implement the execute JavaScript when they click the previous slide. And if we check, let's preview all three of those slides and see what happens. Okay, the next button technically shouldn't be there since there's a start button, but we'll click next. When it ends, it's gonna blink. When I click next, it's gonna stop blinking. It's gonna blink after the end of this slide. These are all duplicates. Actually, oops, I didn't create the JavaScript for this one. But let's go back to the previous. It's gonna blink again. It's blinking. Clicking next. It's gonna stop. Let's go back. Blinking. Okay, it's working. I don't know what happened. But that's it. And the reason why these slides are all the same, I just duplicated the slides. The reason why the next button wasn't blinking for this slide was because I forgot to add the JavaScript for this slide. But again, we just execute the JavaScript when the timeline ends, and we're going to execute a new JavaScript that I provided to stop the JavaScript when the learner clicks next, or if the learner clicks the previous button. Now, the thing is, we don't want to do this for every single slide. You're going to probably have 20 or more slides. We only want to, ideally, we only want to do it once and not have to do it again. So instead of having to copy and paste the JavaScript for every slide, what you can do is go to the master slide, go to view, go to slide master, and we're going to paste in the JavaScript here. And so let me show you how that works. I'm going to execute the JavaScript when the timeline ends. I'm going to copy that, go to slide master or F4, and we're going to paste. Now it's going to execute the JavaScript when the timeline ends. You could disregard these. I disable them. You can get rid of it so that doesn't confuse you. Let's go back. We're going to execute the JavaScript when the user clicks or swipe next. Let's copy this too. When the user clicks back, let's copy, go to view, slide master, and let's paste. Okay, now this is the trigger that's going to stop the blinking. This is the trigger that's going to blink once the timeline ends. Now let's delete these, delete the JavaScripts, and see what happens. Okay, let's check these 3 slides out. Now click next.
Special education local plan. Side county, self a CSC in a later module.
It's gonna blink. Okay, now we're gonna go to the next slide.
Special education.
It's no longer gonna blink.
Module.
It's gonna blink again because now it's the master slide. We're gonna click previous.
Special education local plan areas.
It stops blinking. It's gonna blink again. We're gonna go previous, and it stops blinking. Again, this is a feature I think Storyline should have implemented 7 years ago, but now with the revolutionary technology called ChatGPT or AI, we can use JavaScript and we can ask JavaScript to create this code. Now the question, in case you're wondering, how did I create this code in ChatGPT? I am not an expert prompt engineer. All I did was tell ChatGPT to create me a next slide or create me a next button that blinks, and then I had to iterate multiple times. And it's just a matter of iterating to get it to work. Hope this helps. Feel free to ask away.